Beacon of Speech. I'm Fred Hunt. That's Ted Coley. Hey, Ted Coley. Welcome back. Another episode of Beacon of Speech. What is Beacon of Speech all about? It's all about free speech. We already did a half episode about Donald Trump on the phone this morning, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be writing about that later in the week. But freedom of speech is, or Beacon of Speech is freedom of speech. I have freedom of speech. You have freedom of speech. As long as you don't go crazy like Hitler or crazy like who's that left wing crazy guy?
Bernie Sanders.
Bernie Sanders. You're all good. We're gonna throw Bernie Sanders in the jail today. He's in free speech jail because Bernie Sanders keeps saying no. I don't want socialism like Venezuela. I want socialism like Sweden. Oh yeah. So does everybody else. You know who else wants socialism like Sweden? Venezuela. So anyhow, the point of the story is I ramble on about free speech on, and I trip over words. And Ted sometimes agrees with me, sometimes he doesn't, right? But I am very grateful that Ted Coley exists. Because without Ted Coley, I don't think Beacon of Speech would exist. I would, again, be on the milk crate screaming into the megaphone, and the police would say, "Sir, please move along." Right? So I have a gift for Ted Coley that I think he would like. And this piqued his curiosity. He goes, "Fred, why'd you get me a gift?" First of all, I didn't buy Ted a gift. It's a scam. Ted thinks I bought him a gift. I got a gift, and I'm giving him one of my gifts. I got two gifts, and I am giving him one of my gifts. So I did not pay any money for this. So this is for you.
Now, you got two gifts. Who's the other gift for? Is it
me? I got two gifts, but because they were duplicates, one goes to you. So you are getting a gift. So I'm going to show it to the people at home. Okay, there's no markings on my gift, right? Mm-hmm. So technically it could be a bomb, and this would be the last Beacon of Speech. And Ted would be like, "Oh, that bastard Fred, I always knew he was going to blow up Beacon of Speech the whole time." So this is my present from Fred to Ted for being a good Beacon of Speech partner. Now, don't open it yet, because we'll turn this into 10 minutes of spiel. Now, Ted...
It's not very heavy.
It's not very heavy at all. Now, without looking at it or opening
what my
it...
guess was on the phone?
No, I don't.
It was like a dog turd.
Oh, yeah, dog turd or fake vomit or... No, it's not a gag gift. It's a real gift. And if you want, you could use it in your home, right? And this might be a dead giveaway, but if you want, you can put it on the Beacon of Speech set somewhere around here. Okay? Now, even if I give you that hint, you will never, ever, ever, ever in a gazillion years guess specifically what it is. Now, do you have a guess what's in that box?
Let's see. Is it, does it have something to do with, like your book? Or is it
nope, it has nothing to do with the book or the movie. Okay. I received this from a company as a promotion.
Company as a promotion.
Right, something as a promotion, and I got two of them. I'm giving one to you as an awesome co-host on Beacon of Speech.
Now, you received it through the mail?
No, I received it live when I went to a sporting event.
Oh, a sporting event?
Yes, I went to a sporting event and received it live. Show the audience the box again. Because people at home are guessing right now. People at home are starting to guess what's in this box.
Was the sporting event, was it a hockey game?
No, it was not.
Sporting event.
A sporting event.
Was it a baseball game?
Yes, it was.
Indians game?
No. The Lake Erie Crushers in Avon, Ohio.
Is it like a bobblehead?
Excellent. It is a bobblehead. Open it up.
That's awesome.
But here's the catch. What players do you know on the Lake Erie Crushers? Name one Lake Erie Crusher player in the history of the Lake Erie Crushers.
I can't.
You can't. This player you can name. So go ahead, pull it out. Because you'll be amazed that this exists. I'm amazed that it exists. You could probably sell it on eBay and say, screw it. Go ahead, throw it off to the side. I'll clean it up later. Go ahead, grab the thing.
Oh, wow. Coco Crisp.
Coco Crisp, and you know who that is, right?
Yeah. That's amazing.
Coco Crisp Now we'll take the thing off of his head.
Now wait a minute. Is he playing with them?
No! Coco Crisp, they had some sort of promotion, and he's like 40, 45 years old. He's younger than us, but not much younger, right? He came out of retirement and signed a one-day contract to play for the Lake Erie Crushers. And in return, the Lake Erie Crushers said, we would like to hand out the Coco Crisp bobblehead in the Lake Erie Crush uniform, right? Crushers uniform. Sorry, not Lake Erie Crush. Lake Erie Crushers uniform. So that is my gift to you. I have one at home, and that one's for you. You can put it next to Carlos Santana.
Thank you. That is really cool.
And it's a promotion by the Ohio Lottery, right? And the thing is that you can probably get a bobblehead that says Cleveland Indians on it, but you're not going to get one that says Lake Erie Crushers on it because he played for the Crushers for one day after he had been retired for like 6 years. So like I said, that's yours to keep.
Thank you.
And if ever you say, you know what, I effing hate Beacon of Speech, I'm going to sell that, you can probably make a few dollars on eBay, not a lot, maybe $20, right, for a Coco Crisp bobblehead, because he only played for the team for... But I saw the people in front of me, they grabbed them, and they said they were going to sell them on eBay because they were rare. You know what I mean? Nobody has a Lake Erie Crusher bobblehead. But I don't know how many Coco Crisp fans there are. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So if you want, you can put it over by Carlos Santana or whatever.
See him running?
Now, but you know who Coco Crisp is, right? But I know you like baseball, and I know you like Coco Crisp.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's all yours. I'm not taking it back. It's not a gag. I have mine, you have yours. So we can throw it, for right now, we'll put it right here. Just at the end.
Will it be in a... Will we be able to see him?
Probably not. I might have to move Carlos Santana, because I think my fat head's in the way. Here. We can switch it for a day, and then you can switch it back, because I don't want to mess up Carlos Santana's head. We'll put Coco Crisp right there. And then Carlos Santana for one day. Because we talk about Carlos Santana once in a while, right?
Yeah.
So if I go right this, let's see if we can tune this in a little bit better. Oh, here we go. Coco Crisp right there. There's Coco Crisp. So anyhow, back to the business at hand. And I'll make sure they don't fall off or anything. I won't turn around and punch them or anything. But so anyhow, the point of my story is that's my gift to you. Okay? And like I said, if you want to sell it, if you want the $20, you can say, I'll take the $20 and go on eBay and sell it or whatever. But to me, it's amazing that exists. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So...
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
Now, back to the task at hand. Back to Fred's anger. Arrgh. Ted also picked out the topic for today, and I'm going to tell him why that I agree with him 100%. Ted Coley said, do you mind if we talk about Geraldo today? Geraldo Rivera. And I said, sure, go ahead. He's a scumbag. But why do you want to talk about him? Right? And Ted's like, well, I want to talk about him because he's a scumbag. And I don't know if Ted is late to the scumbag party, but I knew about Geraldo being a scumbag about the time of Al Capone's vaults.
Well, that's 30 years ago.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to let you go first, and then I'll circle back around to Al Capone's vaults. Okay? So you go first. Why are you upset with Geraldo Rivera today?
Well, Geraldo has a radio show in Cleveland.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. The 9 to noon.
Well, it's actually just 1 hour.
Oh, it's 1 hour?
It's like 9 to 10.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Well, who's doing the Triv show at 9 o'clock? Does he not do that?
They don't do that anymore. The Spew or whatever.
Yeah.
Geraldo basically replaced. Because remember, Lanigan walked off. And
Lanigan walked off. He said he doesn't need this anymore.
Well, I was listening to Geraldo the other day, and apparently, I believe he has a book out, and somebody was interviewing him.
Uh-huh.
And Geraldo was talking about how he did not serve in Vietnam.
Right.
Because he was able to, I think he went to college,
Right.
he did, all that stuff. And he said, he goes, I felt guilty about that for a long time, but he goes, I just had other things that I wanted to do. I guess he wanted to be a journalist, obviously.
Right.
And what really rubbed me the wrong way about that is that, well, don't you think the guys who actually went there had other things that they would have liked to have done?
Right. And you're 100% right. And I told Ted
he goes, I wasn't afraid to go there. I just had other things I wanted to do. I'm like, if you had any brains, you would have just been afraid to go there.
I was talking to Ted, and I told him earlier today, and I felt really bad. I said, it seems like a-holes just get ahead in America, and people who are decent...
I shouldn't say if Geraldo had any brains.
But people who are decent who are stuck.
I think I would have had more respect for him if he just said, I was just afraid to go there.
Yeah. Basically, the people who got their draft and they went, right? Some of them died, some of them lived, some of them were traumatized, right? A lot of people like Donald Trump, and we're not going to turn this into a hating Donald Trump thing, but we're going to start with him because he's probably the most famous. He had bone spurs, right?
Donald Trump?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, supposedly he had bone spurs. But the rumor is that his dad paid for him to have bone spurs. Dr. Jones, oh, look, $100 bill fell. Well, if he's a doctor, probably, a couple $100 bills. If you pick those up, you will admit that my son had bone spurs. He's like, oh, young Donald, he's had them since he's been 5. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So, whether that's true or not, I remember reading stories about World War II where kids were like 15 years old and they would go and lie. And they're like, I'm 18, I want to fight the Fuhrer, right? And they're like, okay, off you go, you want to fight. And there were guys who were like 19 and they're like, I got my pinky amputated in a farm accident, can I go fight? And they're like, can you hold a gun? I can shoot with this trigger, off you go to war. And Vietnam was literally the opposite. Yeah. I can't go. Why? Bone spurs. What do you mean bone spurs? My doctors have bone spurs. They said, bone spurs is the worst thing yet. And it's the same thing with Geraldo. It seems like... Now, I always knew Geraldo's been a scumbag for a long time. Okay? Because things leaked out about Geraldo. Morton Downey Jr. got his face spray painted with the
swastika.
The swastika, right? And about the same time, Geraldo's like, oh, well, guess what? I'm going to have Nazis on my show and we're going to top it. And then there was a fight and they threw the chair at Geraldo. Hey, Geraldo, catch! Geraldo's like, what? Ooh, boom! He's out. The chair hits him in the face. You remember that, right? Geraldo did not learn because he was like, how can I drive my ratings higher than Morton Downey Jr.? I can have Nazis right on my stage. That's even better. And he was one of those who's like, now I respected Phil Donahue, right? But Phil Donahue always believed in putting horrible people on his show because his philosophy was the light shines on bad people and it makes them dissolve like vampires, right? Fundamentally, people with consciences like you and me, that would be true. People like Geraldo's like, oh no, turn the light on brighter. Turn the light on bright. Bring the Nazi. I want Nazis on my... Ted, if we had Nazis on this show, you know what our ratings would be? And it would be like, oh, they're going to hit Fred with the Coco Chris thing. Right? A Nazi hits me. I tried to stand up to the Nazis. And then they hit me. They stuck the Coco Chris bobblehead up my ass. Right? And... So Geraldo was one of those. He wasn't like Phil Donahue. He was like, how can I get the highest ratings possible? And then he's like, how can I make everybody in the whole United States watch my show? He goes, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to open Al Capone's vaults, right? And you know what they're going to find? They're going to find dead bodies and they're going to find gold. And I remember being a kid, like, I want to watch that show because every commercial is watch Geraldo blow open Al Capone's vaults. It's a fake wall, and I know there's bodies there. And I talk to people, and they have radar, and they can clearly see that there's outlines of skeletons and gold.
Where was that vault? Was it like Chicago?
I think it was Chicago.
Okay.
And he goes, come watch it live. And it was like one of the top-rated shows in America, right? And he blew the hole open, and he walked in, there's dust. Where's the bodies? And you know what was in there?
Wasn't there like an empty beer bottle?
Yeah, it was like an empty beer bottle. It was like some debris and garbage. No bodies, no gold, no treasure, no nothing. And he's like, and Geraldo's like surprised. He's like, where is everything? Where's the dead bodies? Well, they must be here, but we're going to keep looking, and the time is up. The show's over. Thanks for watching. And it was a big scam, and people are like, Geraldo, boo, boo. And Geraldo's like, no. I had people, they did infrared stuff, and they saw skeletons. The infrared equipment must have been wrong, not Geraldo. Right? And even the band Alistona, they wrote a punk song called Lady Di, and they said that Hosebag Geraldo is a millionaire because it wasn't about journalism. It was about how do I make money. You see what I'm saying? How do I use journalism to make money? You see what I'm getting at? And so back in the day when he was probably like, well, I'm not going to make any money if I go to Vietnam. Suckers go to Vietnam. But you can't just blame Geraldo on the left because Trump on the right did it. And I can name like 8 other people on the right who did it too. Okay? Where's George Bush Jr.?
Yeah.
Okay? So the point is that a lot of people who went, John McCain's the example. Okay? Everybody's like, John McCain was awesome and he went. Right? His dad was an admiral or whatever, and John McCain went, right? But then John McCain, for about the first 50 years of his life, was awesome. And then later in his life, he's like, oh, yeah, Vietnam. And then all of a sudden, he forgot about the lessons he learned in Vietnam, and he's just like, how can I, exploit my Vietnam experience to make people vote for me? You see what I'm getting at? And trust me, I like John McCain. I voted for him, okay? I'm just saying that in the last years of his life, he did not live the Vietnam creed. He exploited it for votes. Like, hey, I was in Vietnam. Even, you remember Rush Limbaugh used to make fun of him. He's like, hey, I'm John McCain. I used to be in Vietnam.
He also makes fun of John Kerry like that. Because he said... Every time Rush Limbaugh brings up John Kerry, he says John Kerry, who served in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Because John Kerry always says that.
Yeah.
Everywhere he goes, he brings that up.
But it's like I still respect John McCain that he went.
Oh, yeah.
And I still respect John Kerry that he went because a lot of those other guys begged out. And if anybody makes fun, Rush Limbaugh begged out. He should not be making fun of John McCain. Okay? He shouldn't. And I should.
They said that Rush Limbaugh, he had a tail.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I remember they were talking about that on Howard Stern,
yeah.
And they were saying, well, couldn't they have just made a uniform with a tail?
But that's the whole thing, and that's what I'm getting at. John McCain was a great American. I'm just saying at the end, he stuck around too long. That's all I'm saying. He went to Vietnam and he did the right thing. Okay, but at the end, he exploited doing the right thing. Hey, I'm doing the right thing, 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 I'm doing the right thing. Hey, you know who did the right thing? This guy. Don't look at him. Screw him. I did the right thing. Right?
Well, I think the whole problem I have with Geraldo is what he said. That I had other things. It's like, that's not a good reason.
No, it's not.
It's like, because anybody can say that.
Anybody can say that.
It's like, so basically he's saying the people who ended up going there just didn't have as good a reason as me.
Right. Who's the guy, who's the guy who ate all the people in Milwaukee?
Oh, Dahmer?
Jeffrey Dahmer. Just like Jeffrey Dahmer, and they're like, well, you know what? Jeffrey Dahmer, I believe he was in the armed services, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Because he killed the one, went to the armed services, got discharged, right? And that's like him saying, well, why? Well, his parents go, why didn't you join the armed services? He's like, well, there's other things I want to do. Yeah, you want to eat people! You should have stayed in the armed services! Don't eat those people! You know? And people, because if we look it up, I wish I wasn't using this as a camera. We would look up Jeffrey Dahmer, and I'm 99% sure that he killed that hitchhiker in Cleveland, went to the military, was in the military for 2 or 3 years, was discharged, and then started eating people. You see what I'm saying? And using the Geraldo logic, you would be like, you don't understand how good people taste. You see what I'm getting at? And so when you say that, to me it's offensive. And you would think people would pick that up. And I've heard Geraldo himself talk about all the starlets he used to bang, right? He's like, well, I shouldn't brag about it because my wife is sitting right here, but I used to get around. It's like, well, you shouldn't say that with your wife sitting right there. That's just in bad taste. Like, some successful people just don't have, like, guilt. You know what I mean? Or, like, some sort of directional compasses or, angel or devil sitting on your shoulder, like no conscience.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? They're like, oh!
No shame.
And shame, that's the word I'm looking for. So Geraldo not having shame, it's like, well, yeah, I want to do something else. Yeah, well, guess what I want to be doing? No offense to you. Would you like to be doing Beacon of Speech? Oh, absolutely. But would I rather be banging hot Playboy models? You see what I'm saying? Oh, well, Ted will do Beacon of Speech later. You know what I mean? Which ties us into our next category. And we'll talk about it a little bit. We'll circle back around to Geraldo, I'm sure. Okay? Wayne Static. And I told Ted this right before, and we might bring this up. Wayne Static died of a drug overdose 5 years ago. He's the lead singer of Static X. Okay? Ted is not familiar with Static X at all. Right? Wayne Static was Static X was one of my favorite bands. Okay? Right before he overdosed on drugs, he hooked up with a Playboy model / porn star. And once he hooked up with her, all his friends said Wayne isn't the same. Family says Wayne's not the same. Wayne's like, I don't give a crap. I'm going to bang the crap out of that girl for the rest of my life. Right? And then he overdosed and died. She overdosed and died a year later. They're both dead. Right? Now, you've never heard of it with Static X.
No,
right?
No.
This week they got back together 5 years after Wayne Static died. And I was going to ask Ted what happened, but he already knows. I told him. Right? Static X, the 3 original members, okay, they said, you know what? We want to cherish the Wayne that we knew, the Wayne that we loved. Right? So what we're going to do is we're going to reform Static X, 3 original members, and Wayne Static, who's dead, who's in the grave. What we're going to do is we're going to have a singer who's supposedly lead singer of Dope, but nobody's supposed to know. We're going to have the lead singer of another band wear a Wayne Static wig and a Wayne Static skin mask and sing his songs, right? And when I read it, I'm like, that's a terrible idea. What the hell is going on? Right? And so going back to the Geraldo analogy, let's say we were successful. We're successful, okay? Beacon of Speech is successful, blah, blah, blah. After I get done yelling and screaming, I count the money. It's like, oh, all of a sudden, Ted dies, right? God damn it, stupid Ted! I told him not to do heroin, and he did it all anyhow. Ted does 0 drugs, okay? So it'd be ultra ironic if you died of heroin, right? But say you died, and I'm like, you know what? I would like to keep making money. But how can I make that same money if Ted's dead, right? You know what? I'm going to get Joe Kaufman, and I'm going to get him to I'm going to have him wear a skull cap, right? I'm going to have him wear a skull cap and grow a mustache, and then I'm going to have him sit there, and I'm going to yell at him, and I'm just going to call him Ted. And Ted, you tell stories about classic rock. I'll have Joe tell stories about classic rock, about Cream, and members of the Who, right? Mm-hmm. And I'll be like, I'm just going to keep counting my money, right? At some point, it's disingenuous. You know what I mean? And I asked Ted, because he used to be in the band Wasted Space, right? And Ted quit the band. It was a 4-piece. He was the lead singer, but you also played guitar, right?
Yeah.
And I said, what would happen if you quit the band? And that would be about 15 years ago, right?
It's almost 20 now.
Yeah. What would happen if you found out the other three guys were like, listen, we really miss Ted, but Ted, we don't know what the hell he's doing, but we're going to get somebody who looks like Ted, and we're going to dress him like Ted. I said, Ted, would you be offended? Ted, would you be offended if the rest of your three friends from Wasted Space did that?
Yeah.
Now, what if they did this? What if they said, listen, Ted, we know you don't want to do Wasted Space anymore, but we want this guy to dress up like you, and we're going to give your mom 5% of the proceeds from the tour. 5% of the proceeds of the tour is going to your mom. Would you say, okay, then you can use my image?
Are you saying that I'm dead?
Yeah, you're dead.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to say, why does my mom get the money? But
yeah, let's. I'm sorry, I skipped a step. Say you died. Say you died of that heroin overdose, and the rest of the band's like, we want to give your mom money. Would you be upset by that?
No, maybe not.
Well, because you love your mom, right? So the Static X business plan is that they said they went to the family and said, can we use Wayne's image? And they said, we would be honored because you're his childhood friends. Now, what they don't tell you is, I think that they greased the skids and cut them in on a percentage because they have to use Wayne's likeness. His hair and his face.
Yeah.
You know, they're making him wear a mask. Right? So if their angle is, it is the spirit of Wayne, right? Then I guess I can kind of get with it because I listened to the new Static X and it sounds like Static X from 1999. It looks like they haven't missed a beat. It sounds like Wisconsin Death Trip. Okay, I know you don't care about Wisconsin Death Trip. Okay? But then you draw the line because right now, also on tour, is Ronnie James Dio. Right?
Okay, now he's dead, right?
He's dead. Ronnie James Dio died of cancer. Okay? His widow, they went to his widow and said, we want to use a hologram of your husband, but we don't want a hologram of the rest of the band. We want some of the members of Dio to come over. And, you know, there's some vocals where you have Dio singing and you have a backup singer. We want Ripper Owens from Judas Priest to also be there live and fill in some of the holes. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take Ronnie James Dio's voice from his records, isolate the vocals, and play it with the hologram. And the reviews have been very good. So would you be offended if Wasted Space did hologram Ted and paid your family a percentage using your vocals?
I don't think Wasted Space would be advanced enough to do that.
Well, this is why I told my wife. Okay?
Because I could just picture like the equipment we had, like them trying to do that. That would be funny just to watch.
But I told my wife, and this is why I told my
picture the guitarist swearing and throwing things because he's using like technology from like 1989 to try to pull this off.
Well, but that's the whole thing. My wife goes, why didn't they use a hologram Wayne Static, right? I said, I don't think they have that kind of money. I think Ronnie James Dio was a big enough star that they could pay for the hologram. Static X, I don't think they had the money to get the hologram. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's like, listen, we want to make money, but we can't do hologram. We're going to have to use the dope lead singer. Name of the band's Dope. The dope lead singer, and we're going to have him dress up like Wayne Static. It's much cheaper than getting a hologram. Right? And then we're going to sing Wisconsin Death Trip. Okay? We're going to sing Bled for Days. And I'm telling you right now, this is why I'm so conflicted, because Bled for Days sounds great. Okay? Because it's his friends singing, it's his band, and right now, say I sang a song, say I sang something by Frank Sinatra. Okay? Name any song by Frank Sinatra.
Let's see. New York, New York.
I wanna be a part of it, New York. Okay, now I'm already butchering it, okay, because I can't sing. I suck, okay? Now, Wayne Static did not sing, okay? Wayne Static is... right? So I love Wayne Static so much that I could probably get it in the ballpark, but he's not crooning. Does that make sense?
All right.
So his friend who knows all the lyrics to Wisconsin Death Trip, he can do the nuances of it, right? And he knows when Tony Campos is in the background hitting the background, you know, dun, 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 dun. He knows it by heart. But he is not reinventing the wheel as being the lead singer of Static X. You see what I'm getting at?
Now, did you say Tony Campos?
Tony Campos.
Well, who's your friend?
Jason Campos.
Oh, okay.
Jason Campbell he has less skill than me. You want to hear a funny story?
Yeah.
Me and Jason, we used to work together at Taco Bell, right? Me and Jason Campbell. Okay?
Now, are you still in touch with him?
No, only on Facebook, but not for real. Jason is sick of me. He said that I was a one-trick pony and that I wasn't very funny and all that other stuff. Yeah, I know.
When did he say this?
Like when our friendship started to dwindle. He's like, I was more annoying than funny, and it wasn't fun to hang out with him.
What does he mean you're a one-trick pony?
Like, all I did was bitch about everything. He's like, you ever try looking at the bright side of life? Right? And I'm like, yeah, thanks. He goes, no, you complain about everything. I said, well, thanks. So, but the point is that when he was in college, I was in my early 20s, I said we should start a band. We had lots of harebrained schemes when we worked at Taco Bell because Taco Bell sucked. Okay? And I used to say, you know what we should do? I said, I'm smart and you're smart. We should make acid and sell it. Right? And he goes, we should. He goes, that's a felony. I said, let's not do that. And I said, because I don't take acid, you don't take acid. We'd make a ton of money. We don't eat, we don't do the profits. And we're not killing kids. We won't sell heroin to 13-year-olds. We'll only sell acid to other college kids. Right? He's like, we should do it, except for it's a felony. And I'm like, no, maybe we won't do that. And he goes, no, it's not a bad idea. I'm like, no, we probably shouldn't do that. He's like, no. He's like, I kind of like what you're thinking, where we make money hand over fist. And then, again, back to the moral code, right? Ethics, or whatever you want to call it. What was the word you use? You use the perfect word.
What, honor among thieves?
Oh, no. When you said... ethics. I can't remember what it was. The point is that if I just wanted to make money, I'd be like Jason Campbell. Let's make acid, right? But we didn't because I was like, it is a felony, and I probably shouldn't go to jail, and technically it's not right to sell drugs to people, right? And it's like, yeah, no shit, it's not right. But one of the other harebrained schemes we had, he said, Fred, all you ever do is yell and complain. You should start a punk band, and you'd be the lead singer. I said, okay, I'll do it. Okay, and I will sing about who knows what. We'll sing about I remember what I can't even say what our first name. I can't even say on air. This you'll get a kick out of this. This was the first song we wrote. This was the name of the song that we wrote. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so we used to rehearse it. We only wrote 2 songs. I can't remember the other one, but I remember that one. And I said, listen, Jason, you play the instrument, and I will do the vocals, right? And we'll use the word, what's a good word? Cats, okay? We're looking at a cat poster, okay? But we didn't use the word kill cats, okay? So this was the first song that our punk band, it was called Leukoplakia. And do you know what leukoplakia is?
No.
It's throat cancer, right? Because my vocal sounded like I had throat cancer, okay? So I would go up, and this was the song, and we would be like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, like that, right? And he'd be like, oh yeah, and he goes, I'll learn how to play instruments, but it wasn't cats, right?
Yeah.
But we can't say that on air now, right? And so Jason Campbell's like, we got to write another song, right? And it was like, it was literally like Waterfalls. It was like the second song. And how waterfalls go. Oh, like this. Waterfalls. Like, we did not get past that. Like, after that, I'm like, you know what? I don't really have any talent. And you don't really have any talent. If you can't play an instrument, we're not going to make any money. He's like, yeah. He goes, that probably won't work. Right? So that was another. But we did name the band. We wrote 2 songs. Right? Would you sing this for Wasted Space?
No.
So anyhow, and so we would come up with these harebrained schemes, but everything we came up with, we never did because you would have to do horrible things to make money. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So the point of the story is, we'll circle back to Static X, right? Because Leukoplakia never went anywhere. Leukoplakia never recorded a song, okay? But we did have a band name, and we had 2 songs, okay? But Wasted Space is the example. But so if they dress somebody up like you would be offended.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
But you don't think you're, like, don't use last name, okay? I don't care about Jason Campbell. He can sue me, okay? But who is the head of the band? Well, just his first name.
Tim.
Tim. Okay. Now, Tim was your friend, right? So today, if you saw him, you would not think of Tim as your enemy. You would think of Tim as your friend, right? So at some point, Tim would be like, if we dress somebody up like Ted, that might hurt Ted's feelings, right?
Yeah, I guess.
And I would think that Tim would say, I don't think we should do this because I think it wouldn't be right. I think we'd be doing wrong by Ted. Mm-hmm. Could you see Tim saying that? Or do you think Tim would be like, screw Ted! I will take as much money as I can make. I will print the money in my basement. And I don't care about Ted Cole. He can suck a big giant you-know-what. And I will count my money. And I don't care. What do you think Tim would do?
No, I think he would... I think he would say... He'd probably think, you know what, it'd probably be wrong.
Yeah. Just like back in the day.
Although I'm not 100%
sure. But it goes back to back in the day, right? Me and Jason knew right from the start it was bad to make acid, right? It was wrong. It was wrong and we should not do it, right? So when Static X does this, in their minds, they're like, this is the right thing to do. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't think it is, right? But then it goes back to right and wrong doesn't matter. Can they do it? Well, yeah, they can do it. You can do anything. You can put a man on the moon. You know how much putting a man on the moon costs? And so the reason I keep circling back, we keep going back to Geraldo. Geraldo, you know what? Everybody was supposed to go to war and you didn't go, right? He'd be like, but I want to go. But no, he didn't even say it was an immoral war. He said he just didn't want to go. Right?
He had other things to do.
Yeah,
and I don't know. Like I said, from what he was saying, it didn't sound like he did anything illegal to get out of it.
No, he didn't.
He just did what, I guess anybody who went to college was automatically exempt.
Yes. If you were in college, you were exempt. And there was some professor, I can't remember who it was, but he won like a Nobel Prize. And they said, why didn't you go to Vietnam? He goes, well, I was in college. And they go, well, what about when you were... Because he started college when, like, in 1965, like the very first consultants.
Yeah, the war went on longer than 4 years.
Yeah.
So it said, you can go after you finish.
Well, and that was the whole thing. They said, well, after I got my bachelor's, I got my master's. And they said, well, what about after you got...
then I
got my... No, he said, then I got my PhD. And they said, well, after you got your PhD, he goes, well, I got a double PhD. Right?
Yeah.
And they said, well, why didn't you go to war? Well, I was in college. You got a double PhD? Nobody gets a double PhD.
For 10 years.
Like, he did. He was in college for 10 years, and he literally stopped going to college at the fall of Saigon. Right? He's like, I was going to go to Vietnam, but Saigon fell, and I got my double PhD. You see what I'm saying? And so his whole angle was, I never did anything wrong.
Yeah.
And he was never at the top of his profession. He's like, I won a Pulitzer Prize, or not Pulitzer Prize, I won a Nobel Prize. Well, whatever he won it for, it wasn't anything that he had done while he was studying instead of going to Vietnam. You see what I'm saying?
And the thing is, a guy like that now probably goes to Vietnam like on vacation.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's safe now. He's probably, no, I won't say it. Because I can't remember. I had a guy from high school. Okay, I'm not going to say his name, and I'm not friends with him on Facebook, so you can look it up and you won't know. But he was a really nice kid. He was a good-looking guy, right? And when he was 30, he said, "I moved to Cambodia and I have a new wife," right? I'm like, well, that's weird, right? He seemed like a normal guy, right? Oh, maybe 35. Let's use 35. Girl looked like she was 15 years old, right? I'm like, why in the hell is living in Cambodia? You know what I mean? I think he literally went there to get a child bride, right? And then he was there for 5 years, and then he moved back to America with his bride, who was 20, right? And
Now,
he's
who
40.
was this person?
He was in my high school.
Yeah.
He was a high school friend. And then he moved back, and then he moved to Las Vegas, right? And in my head, I can't think of, like, whatever job he had, it wasn't anything that he had to move to Cambodia for. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I think he went to Cambodia to hook up with a teenage girl. You see what I'm getting at? But I don't know for a fact because I'm not that close to him. I just know that when he first posted a picture of her, I'm like, that girl looks like she's 15. And then he's like, me and my 20-year-old wife are moving back to Vegas. And I'm like, you've been with her for like 5 years. You see what I'm getting at? So it's like you never know what kind of shenanigans people are up to because he seemed like a really good, normal guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And even if you were looking for a younger girl, you never go to Cambodia to find, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like Ted, you would never quit Iron Mountain and move to Cambodia for that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You would go and say, oh, well, I'm going to look for a mail order bride who's 18 or above, and let's see what we got in the catalog. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because you would at least play by the rules of society. You see what I'm getting at? And all these examples, right and wrong doesn't matter. It's can you do it? Can you get out of Vietnam? Can you wear a skin mask of your dead friend? You see what I'm saying? Is it a good idea or is it a bad idea? Is irrelevant. Can you do it? Well, yeah, I can do it. You know?
Yeah.
And that's what America seems like. And this is what's really been bugging me today. And I know these may or may not be good examples. But it seems like today, the a-holes get ahead. And they're like, oh yeah, you can do it and make money. Right? And it's like people who play by the rules do not get ahead.
No.
And, you know, we were talking about this at your work. We talk about it at my work. We talk about it at people where we used to work. You see what I'm saying? And it's just amazing to me where right and wrong falls in the scale of whether you should do it or not.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right.
just because you can do something doesn't necessarily mean you should do it.
Right. And I'm sorry to keep circling back to Geraldo. You could say Geraldo was right because he shouldn't have fought in an immoral war. Well, in that case, he should have said, I don't want to fight in an immoral war like Muhammad Ali. Because Muhammad Ali said, I don't want to fight in an immoral war. He lost his wages for 5 years. He didn't fight. He got blackballed. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And people said Muhammad Ali is a charlatan, a fraud. He said what he believed in. And people were like, we're going to kill you. Right? And they called him, you know, dirty, filthy names. And he said what he believed in. And if you want to say Muhammad Ali didn't believe in the war, then that's fine. But there's a big difference between I don't believe in the war and my dad paid for the doctor to get the bone spurs. You see what I'm getting at? And it's like, you shouldn't be able to have your cake and eat it too. You know what I mean? I'm not going to Vietnam. I don't want to go. It sucks over there. You know what? It's hot. And there's a bunch of people shooting. Oh, no way. And again, if you want to stand up, there's people who stood up and said, you know what? I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to fight. I'm going to go to Canada. Right? Screw you. I'm going to Canada. Well, you respect them because they said what they felt. They didn't play the system and then 30 years later go, oh, yeah, I wanted to go to Vietnam, or I didn't want to go to Vietnam, I had other things to do. That's very insulting. Like, that's one of the most insulting things you can say.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I had an uncle in Vietnam. His card came up, he went, he had a real rough time, we don't talk about it. Right? And to me, I'm insulted by Geraldo for him.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? It'd be like, well, Fred, you would have done the same thing. Oh, you don't know that. I probably would have went to Canada. So,
but then you would, if you did go to Canada, I don't think now you'd be like, well, I didn't want to go because I really wanted to go to Canada.
you don't understand how beautiful Canada is. You know what I mean? Very few people come out like Muhammad Ali and says, I'm not going, and this is why.
Yeah.
Right? Geraldo says it now. How many years ago was that? 40 years ago?
At least, yeah.
I want to stay in America and make a ton of money being a journalist.
Yeah.
Right? Well, yeah, me and you both.
I had other things that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Unlike everybody else.
Yeah. And that's the whole thing.
So the guys who went there just didn't have anything better to do.
Yeah. Yeah, and don't get me wrong. And that's why I really feel bad when I say mean things about John McCain. Because he everything he said in his life, he backed up. He did. Okay? I'm just saying, at the end, he turned into a politician and he forgot he was a war hero. That's all. Yeah. That's all I'm saying. Okay? But you can't, from the time McCain was from the time McCain was in Vietnam until he was maybe 70, I have no problems with John McCain. I love John McCain. Love John McCain. Okay? Once he turned 72, 73, he started to do things I did not like because he turned into a career politician. Right? Instead of standing up for things that he used to stand up for when he was young, he's like, how can I be a politician until they put me in the grave? And be like, Fred, you don't say what you don't say for what you stand for, whatever. I say whatever the hell I want. And I talk around things like, this one thing right here. I'll get in big trouble if I sing that on air. Okay? Yeah, yeah. But now that I'm older, I'm like, yeah, I probably shouldn't say that anymore. Okay? And so, I grew. Okay? But not by a lot. Okay? And when I say I grew, I mean by like this much. Here's Fred's growth to about my car accident in 92, and then I grew about that much. So, a lot of things I say in Beacon of Speech, by the rules of society, I shouldn't say, but I say them because now we are in a PC wasteland right now, okay? And everybody's afraid of consequences. I'm afraid of consequences at work, right? So I just don't talk at work. People say, hey, Fred, what do you think of this? I'd be like, A, B, C, D, and they're like, oh, my God! Who is this guy, Fred Hunt? I'd be like, we're going to have some fun today. Ted, when we talk about wasted space, do you like it or do you not like it? Do you get angry? You say, God damn, Fred, I don't want to talk about wasted space anymore.
It really doesn't matter. It doesn't bother me.
Because we could talk about Taco Bell and Iron Mountain all day long, okay? And I would tell stories about how crappy they were, and then you would laugh, and then we get sued. So it's not that I'm afraid to talk about it. It's just probably shouldn't. But if you said, Fred, did you ever blah blah blah? I'd be like, oh yeah, you know what I mean. So it's kind of like sins of omission, right? Well, let's use the Iraq War, okay? Instead of Vietnam, because that's a bad example, okay? For me, okay? Because Vietnam was over when I was 4, okay? You would have been, what, 5 when Vietnam ended? Fall of Saigon, 74, right?
75, I think.
Okay, so let's use Fall of Saigon, 75.
Yeah,
Okay.
because we basically pulled out in 73,
Yeah.
and then Saigon fell, I think, in 75.
Okay, so that's a bad example because 75, I was 5. Okay, you would have been what, 7?
Yeah.
All right. So I wouldn't have gone. You wouldn't have gone. There's no 5-year-olds fighting, no 7-year-olds fighting. Okay, but Iraq was in our wheelhouse. Okay, the first Iraq war didn't it start in 88?
91.
91. Okay, 91. So that would have been in my wheelhouse. Okay, yeah, I graduated in 87, and my dad said you should see what the armed services has to offer, right? And I said okay. And I talked to a recruiter, and I said, yeah, I don't think I'm interested. Number one.
Just think, though, you could have served with Carl.
We're going to talk about that. That's our last topic, is Iraq. Okay? So they said, Fred, are you interested? I said, no. And they said, why aren't you interested? I said, number one, I'm not that manly. I don't shoot guns. I'm not very physically fit. And they're like, you play soccer. And I'm like, okay, I can run and kick a ball. I don't really have skills of the Army. I just don't. Okay? I'm kind of a wuss. Okay? And they said, well, we'll teach you. I said, yeah, that's what I'm afraid of. You'll teach me. And again, this is me not being 50-year-old boisterous Fred. This is me being meek Fred.
Now, does this mean, were you talking to a recruiter?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I took the PSAT and I got phenomenal scores. Okay? Which is basically the military SAT. And they said, we think you would be awesome. Right? And I said, oh, no, I won't be awesome. And I'm like, I'm small. And they're like, we'll teach you. I need to put on weight. I think I weighed 150. Right? And
what they say, we'll feed you.
That's what they said. They said, we'll feed you, we'll clothe you, we'll take care of you. I said, at the end of the day, I do not like guns. And they said, well, you won't be firing guns every day. We're not at war with anybody. And I'm like, yeah, but you could be at war with anybody in the next year or two.
Yeah.
Right?
It's
and
like
I
your
said
whole
this,
reason for
and I
existence.
said this, and I said, listen, free college sounds great, but there's no guarantee. And I think I said, who's to say that you won't declare war on Canada next year, right? And they said, we would never declare war on Canada. That's absurd. And the recruiter told me, he goes, I don't foresee any wars in the next 10 years. And right when he said that, I'm like, no way. Because he cannot guarantee me there'd be no wars in the next 10 years. And he didn't say, I guarantee you there won't be. He said, I don't foresee any wars in the next 10 years. And I went home and I told my dad. My dad said, what do you think? I said, I ain't doing that. And he goes, well, you didn't sign anything, right? And I said, no. I said, I do not want to go fight in a war that they randomly pick out of a hat, like Vietnam. You see what I'm saying? And he goes, well, you don't have to. He goes, I'm not making you. He goes, but you got to go to college or you got to get a job. You join the military or get a job or go to college. I said, well, I'm going to college. I went to Cleveland State. Well, technically, I went to Tri-C. Then I went to Cleveland State, right? So I go to Cleveland State. War breaks out in 91, right? My next door neighbor, right? He had joined the armed forces 6 months before Iraq. He was 2 years younger than me, so I think the war broke out in 91, and he signed up in 1990, right? Because I graduated when I was 17 in 87, right? Next door neighbor goes, I'm going to go and get free college. I go, I don't know. Things are kind of heating up in the Middle East. He goes, we ain't going to war in the Middle East. He goes, why in the hell would we go to Iran or any of these godforsaken places? He goes, I am getting free college. You are stupid for not taking free college. And I said, no, I'm good. And he goes, I'm not good with guns. He goes, I'll go up in my room. I'll start shooting at your house. You know, he's my next door neighbor. I'll start shooting at your house. How do you like that? I go, listen, I don't care what you do. Right? 1 year later, they go to Iraq. Ah! They're sending me to Iraq. If I would have known they were going to send me to Iraq, I would have never joined the goddamn armed services. They screwed me. Uncle Sam screwed me. Right? And he was bent. And guess who ended up in the Iraqi desert?
Yeah.
My next door neighbor. And I laughed. I would send him postcards. I'd be like, how's Iraq? Ha ha ha! Right? And he like stopped talking to me. Right? Because I'm like, you were an a-hole to me and said, the military is a scam to get free college. And I said, that's not the way I think. And then when he got sent over, he was so mad. I remember him screaming. I'm screaming louder because I think it's funny. Because it was one of the few things I was ever right about in my whole life. Right? Now, we're going to step away from Fred because he was at Cleveland State. After they went to Iraq, I'm like, yeah, there's no way I'm going to the military now. Right? And that's part of the reason I ended up at Taco Bell. My dad's like, you got to get a job. I'm like, there's a job right there. Right? But if the draft came, I would have had to make the decision, go to Iraq or go to Canada. Well, luckily, they didn't ask me. I just said, oh, no, I'm good. Now, in 1991, you were working for DataGuard.
Arcus.
Arcus. You were working for Arcus. Did you ever join the military? And this will be our last topic. Because were you tempted to join the military?
No, never.
So when you got out of high school, you just said, I need to work.
Right.
And your dad, like my dad, said, college or work. Is that correct?
No, it would have been my stepdad, and he.
Well, I know it was your stepdad.
Never really said. I mean, I just assumed that I had to do.
Let me back up a step. I know it was your stepdad. I know your dad had passed away. So your stepdad, let's say you're 18 years old, right? And your stepdad, you graduate, and your stepdad comes home and he goes, what are you doing? And you're like, you know what? I don't like working. I'm going to live in the basement. What would have happened?
Oh, that wouldn't have lasted.
He would have kicked you right out.
Yeah.
Your ass would have been on the lawn. Right? You're not even my son. I'm going to go beat your mom and all that other stuff. Okay? For giving birth to such a dumbass.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it was implied that you had to get a job.
Oh, yeah.
And if you didn't get a job, they would not have been forgiving and say, take all the time you need. Right? If you were in the basement, let's just say for a month, and, your mom goes to your stepdad and says, Ted's clearing his head, he's thinking about things, would your dad have walked down and said, listen, you join the military, I'm going to put my foot up your ass? Would you say that could have happened?
Yeah.
So that's why I say that even though he did not say, Ted, my son, you need to get a job or you are out on the lawn. You knew if you didn't get a job, you were out on the lawn.
Yeah.
Luckily, my dad didn't leave it between the lines. When I'm 17, he's like, college, job, military. You don't get to sit at home and play games and play video games and watch your high, state-of-the-art black and white TV sitting on the desk. I remember getting an 8-inch black and white TV and my dad yelling at me like he had just given me a bar of gold. You know what? That's a state-of-the-art TV!
Wait a minute. What year would this have been?
84.
There were still black and white TVs?
Yeah, little black and white TVs. But I had it in my room because I wasn't allowed to have, posters or anything. So, I got a TV in my room. I might have been 13. Okay? But so I'm 13 years old. I got an 8-inch black and white TV. And that's the only TV you're ever getting from me. Thanks. And I said, it was like a bar of gold. It was like the most cherished thing.
Yeah, my brothers and I had a black and white TV, and it was probably about that size. I mean, it was like maybe 10 inches or something. I know it was less than 13.
Yeah. And you're lucky to have that black and white TV. Oh, thank you for the black and white TV. And then, when I was 17, I bought a 19-inch color TV. And I thought I was in the lap of luxury. I'm like, it's 19 inches!
That's basically what that is.
Yeah, and that's why I'm looking at a 19-inch TV right off screen. Here, I should turn it. I'll regret moving it, but look. Right there. That's basically my TV right there, Ted. Okay? And you still have that TV. And that's why I'm like, most prized possession. Because, I'm like, oh, wow, I'm going to keep that. And the sad part is that 19-inch TV worked throughout the beginning of my marriage, and I only threw it away because nobody has box TVs. You see what I'm saying?
No, it was still working and you got rid of it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because we got a flat screen. So I felt really bad, but, you know, my dad, they had two tube TVs that would still work. So he would take them Salvation Army because they worked. And the Salvation Army would be like, take that garbage out of here. We don't want dang tube TVs. And my dad would be like, it works. And they're like, get them out of here. That's garbage. And my dad was like, I can't believe the Salvation Army doesn't want my tube TV. Right?
That reminds me, see, even that, everything goes back to Seinfeld. It reminds me of when they took the muffin tops to the homeless.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We don't want these.
We don't want the muffin bottom.
Where's the rest of this muffin?
We only want you cut off the best part. Yeah, that's exactly right. And my dad, like, to this day, and it might have been Goodwill and not Salvation Army, so if I'm slandering the wrong agency, I apologize. But my dad's like, I tried to give away the tube TVs and they wouldn't take them. And I said, listen, I'll plug it into your wall and show you that it works. And they're like, we know that it works. We just can't resell them. It's garbage. And my dad was so indignant. It's like, yeah, but it works. Which circles back to the very beginning of our topic. It doesn't matter if it works or not. We don't want it. That, I guarantee you, that TV works, right?
Well, see, the problem with that TV is that once it's on, it's fine, but you have to turn it on like about 20 times because it keeps going off. You turn it on,
I had a TV
it goes
like
off.
that.
You turn it on, it goes off. Eventually, it stays on, but it could be 20, 30, 40 times that you have to do that.
Right.
You had a TV that did that?
Yeah, I did. But I got rid of it. I've had a couple of TV, and like I said, to me, it's like box TVs, right? Man, I shredded my voice today. I keep drinking the water. It's a good thing I didn't get Pepsi. I got water instead today. So, just so you know, me and Jason Campo never recorded anything. I will be very clear. We're not going to talk about the name of the song that we wrote. It's just that we were Leukoplakia, and I forgot the name of the second song. So, do
you think you guys will ever reunite? And
no.
Try to record?
No, me and Jason Campo have a very poor relationship right now. Jason Campo and me were not on this. Once he turned about 22, me and him were not on the same page of life. So, and that's why it's funny because, and he brings him up because you know him from your work, right? Because I'm telling you, Jason Campo is exactly like Steve is now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like, you don't understand how hard I work! And I say his name to goad him, because one day, he will try and sue me. And I'll be like, ah! And here's the ruse, okay? Let's say me and you, because this is what a jerk I am sometimes, okay? Me and Campo have a long history, okay? And so let's say I'm doing Beacon of Speech, okay? I'm doing Beacon of Speech. And I go, you know what? I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to say it. I know that Jason Campo has a small penis, right? Jason Campo is going to watch this, and he's going to be like, I'm going to sue you, okay? And this is what we used to argue about, me and him, okay? And he'd be like, I'd be like, you're not going to sue me. And he goes, why wouldn't I sue you? You slandered me in the public forum, right? I said, yeah, but that's the catch. If I slander you in the public forum, you have to sue me, and then it hits the media. I am suing Fred Hunt because he said I had a small penis. And I'm like, I still won. You know what I'm saying? And the analogy is, and I said we weren't going to talk about Howard Stern, but I'll bring it up very briefly. Howard Stern would be on and he would interview a stripper. And the stripper would say, I slept with, and let's say, I remember Bruce Willis slept with a porn actress, right? And she said, and Howard Stern goes to a porn actress, and he goes, how was Bruce Willis, right? And she goes, oh my God, Bruce Willis was so huge, and I was afraid he was going to break me, right? And she goes, I shouldn't have said it, but he was just so big, I couldn't, like, handle it all, right? And Howard Stern leans back. He goes, "Honey, Bruce Willis is not going to sue you for that. He'll probably call you tonight and thank you because he just got 10 more porn actress numbers." You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you have to go back to intent, whether it's right or wrong. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
If I came on and said Jason Campo has a huge penis, you know what happened? I would get a card in the mail from Jason Campos and be like, "Thank you, Fred." He'd be like, he goes, "You just did wonders." So you see what I'm saying? Because I don't know one way or the other about Jason Campo. I just don't, right? But if I did it, I would do it just to piss him off because we have that kind of relationship, right? And then I'd be like, say I was worth $1 million, and Jason Campos sued me. He goes, "I'm going to sue you for $100,000 for saying I have a small penis." I'd be like, do it. You got to do it. And then if Beacon the Speech really was successful, I'd be like, "Dad, that's the funniest thing in the world. I don't have any idea about his manhood, but I just got him to admit it in court." Right?
Yeah.
You see what I'm getting at. So whether it's right or wrong, good or bad, it does not matter. You see what I'm getting at? And again, let's say that we're in the old country. Say we're living in Italy. And you're like, "Fred, why would you say that? The Pope doesn't approve," right? I'll be like, "Well, America, I don't think, do you think America cares what the heck the Pope has to say?" And so that's why, right, wrong, it's indifferent. Everything in America is about money. It just is.
Yeah.
And Geraldo Rivera, and we'll end it here because we're past our time. Geraldo Rivera admitting that he didn't want to go to Vietnam. You know why he did it today? Because it cost him no money. Nobody turned off the radio. Half the Vietnam veterans that he served with are dead. You see what I'm getting at?
Yeah.
It cost him no money to admit that today. You know, and that's why it just makes, the more I talk about it, the madder I get. Okay? Because if it was in 1980, he might have got fired from his job for that. You see where I'm going? He'd be like, "I don't want to get fired from my job. I don't want to say it."
So you agree with me? What he said makes you mad.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Makes me angry. But this is where I disagree with you. Is that I don't think he said it on the spur of the moment. You know, I think he's been waiting to say it until it wouldn't affect his career anymore. Okay? Just like that lady who said that Donald Trump raped her. She said that Donald Trump raped her when she was 49 years old. She admitted it in a book when she was 73, when it cannot affect her career anymore. You see? She's like, "This has been bothering me." And she also said it because she didn't know Donald Trump was going to be the president. If Donald Trump was Obama, she probably still wouldn't have said anything because she likes Obama. You see where I'm getting at?
Yeah, yeah.
So now, it's not whether it's right or wrong, but whether you like them or not 30 years later.
Yeah.
And that's why, to me, freedom of speech is, and we'll tie it into freedom of speech, is so important. Because everything that people say nowadays is an agenda. You know, I didn't plan on talking about leukoplakia today, right? But we brought it up, and I'm like, well, if you want to talk about leukoplakia, we'll talk about leukoplakia, right? And sometimes I talk so much, I'm not trying to hide anything. It's just that nobody brought it up. You see what I'm getting at? And so now today, you know, when I tape this, you'll be like, "Fred, that was the worst show we did. You swore." Well, I know I shouldn't swear. I've been trying not to swear. But at the end of the day, who knows? Maybe the swearing episode will be the most popular episode. You see what I'm getting at? And then you'll be like, "Fred, should we swear more to make money?" And it'll be like, "Well, no, I was telling a story and I swore because, you know, it happened and it was, you know, my friend who lived next door and it made